Hello, everybody. How are you? You can do whatever you want out there because I can't see you. So if you really need me, like, yell. Okay, so you have me and one more person in between your lunch. So are you going to hang in there? Okay, I got to find my clicker. Pam can't be on stage without a clicker. Okay, today I'm talking about something completely different. And I have to tell you, when I was asked to do this, my first response was, well, I don't know. You know, I can't talk about marketing. I can't talk about conversion funnels or anything with social media. What am I going to do? And I said, heck yeah, we'll go ahead and do this. So I'm talking about some content I've never shared on stage before. So make sure you don't tweet it. Haha. What happens in here, I know, goes to Twitter. All right, so I'm talking about the fences that we put up in business and life. Who can relate to that? You ever feel like you put fences up that keep you from success, from relationships? That's what we're talking about. If you've seen this picture, you've probably seen it on Twitter. It's me. My hair is blonde now. This is my natural color. When I started my agency, I wanted to try going brunette. I thought maybe brunettes had more fun. And I actually had a lot of fun. I kept it until just earlier this year. And I also wanted to be taken more serious in business. I thought maybe if I was not a blonde starting a business, that people would take me more serious. And I'll tell you, it worked. And then I came to a point that I said, who cares? I'm a blonde. These are my natural roots. Get over it. So my bio reads on Twitter something similar to 50% marketing, 50% geek, 100% nut. Okay. Also tells you that I love God, I love my family, I love beaches, and I have a zest for life. It's all a pound true story. Okay. But the thing is, it's not the whole story. So today I'm going to fill you in on some personal details and fill in some of those gaps. When we think about the fences we put up, we are told our entire life that fences keep us safe. You think about when you're a small child. You're told, stay in your yard, don't kick the ball on the other side of the yard, stay in your safe zone, don't cross over somebody else's fence. And as I went through life, my parents were divorced when I was 7, and I was raised by my single mom, and she did a good job. She was a banker. She was great at managing risk and managing the money that she had. We never did without, but I never had everything that I wanted. And I knew that if I was going to go where I wanted to go in life, it was going to be up to me to make that happen. And I'll tell you, I knew that at the age of 7 when my parents were divorced and we moved to Colorado. Fast forward a little bit, my dad died when I was 16. He committed suicide. And he had lived in Florida. He was living in Florida. We were in Colorado at the time. And I was on my way to my first homecoming football game that night. My friends were there. And I remember my grandma calling and telling me, and I hadn't seen my dad for 6 months. And the last time I had seen him, he had left crying, saying, you guys don't love me anymore. And I was standing up on the balcony of our house. And that's why to this day, I want people in my life that I love to know that I love them. And he left, and he had pulled to the side of the road and put a hose from the exhaust to the car. And so my grandma told me that. My friends are standing there. What do you do? I went to the football game. Life went on. And so that's how I've always been. My life went on. I had a swim meet the next day that I was in. And you fast forward it kept going. I had no choice but to keep going. There's always been that hole there that I can't fill. And anybody who's had a death like that in the family or somebody who has committed suicide in your life, it's a hole that you'll never fill. And I finally have realized I'll never be able to answer the question of why. All I can do is just make sure that I take care of the people in my life. So then you fast forward, and my mom, because she was in a corporate world in banking, she was very good at hooking me up with corporate careers. So I think by the time I could legally work 15 and a half, I was working at State Farm, and I was in Colorado working at Montfort Beef, and I grew up in Greeley, the stinky city. But, some good gigs. And so I went to college. I had a double major in marketing, and I actually started out in computer information systems. Got to my junior year, and I was programming in COBOL and all those languages. I know I'm dating myself, C++. And nobody was talking, okay? So I'm in these classes. I'm loving what I'm doing, and I'm looking at all these fellow geeks around me, and I'm like, don't you want to talk about what we're doing? Like, this is cool. Let's talk about it. And they're like, no, we're programming. And so that's when I realized that was not my job, okay? I could not. We got to talk about these things. And so I wound up with a double major. I tried journalism. My journalism teacher told me I was going to wind up in the snow with, I'd be standing there with the snow coming down. I said, I don't want to do that. So I wound up moving off to, it was never hard for me to find a job. And I went onto the corporate world and, kind of started to just live that dream life. I met my husband at a Penny Beer Bar in Colorado, Fort Ram, if anybody's been there. It was love at first sight, and we've been together for 20 years this November. We had the dream world, the dream American dream. We had the picket fence, we have 2 kids, we had the dream cars, the dream house, you name it, we had it. But we really didn't have anything, and we got to a point in our life that I was thinking, I don't want to be my boss's boss anymore. I climbed that ladder, and although I took on, really cool gigs where, it would be the COO's pet project at Sun Microsystems. We were the .com, and we grew from, volunteer team of 4 people to 800-person business units in 18 months. So it was fun, it was exciting. But I had a wake-up call, and it was when I was working at Hitachi Data Systems, and I was working remote. And my son's school was 2 blocks away from my house. And he was in 3rd grade at the time. I think he was 9 years old. And I was there alone with him one day. And my husband, had been pretty much playing mommy that year. And I had to take him to school to get his homework. And I'm walking with him, and I didn't know where his class was. And he's so little, and he looks at me, and he goes, "Mom, you don't know where my class is, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't, honey. I'm sorry." And from that moment, I knew there had to be something different. So I decided to leave the big corporate world. I went to a smaller company that promised me, 2 executives from 3M, and they promised me that I would not work 24 hours a day. And they said, if you do, it's your own fault. So long story short, I wound up getting myself fired there within about 3 months when I turned in a financial plan that took my life back, okay? One more time, I'm taking my life back. Pulled into the driveway in my brand new car, Lexus, and my husband's standing there laid off at the time, and I said, "Honey, I just got fired." And he was laid off at the time too. And so that's where we started our agency. He wound up going to work for WebTrends at the time. He's now with me. But we thought if Pam can just make a little bit of money on the side, and we'll be okay. So we've been okay. Things have actually went really well. We sold our first agency and sold our second agency that we did with our investor, and are on the 3rd now, have no plans to sell it. But even through the growth that we've had seasons where we put up these fences, and we have these seasons where we start to put up walls around us, and whether that's in business or in life, and we get into our comfort zone. And what causes us to put these fences up? A lot of times it can be fear of failure, or it can be maybe something that you actually did mess up on. It can be success. For me, I can relate to Sheryl Sandberg a lot, where she talks about, women and success a lot. Anytime I've had success, I always blame it on, I always gave credit to the planets aligning. I even say that a lot in my keynote speeches. The planets just aligned and everything worked out. I had an awesome boss, or this person. And it's good to give credit to people, but sometimes I think you need to let down those walls of security and say, you know what, I've done some cool things, and I'd like to take a lot of people on a ride for me. But we put up the fences when we get afraid of those things, and we don't let people come close to us. You may be fearful of people that have hurt you. And you think about this from a social media perspective in business. We build these online profiles, okay? And we want people to see over the fence. So it's not walls that we're putting up, it's not brick walls, but they are fences, picket fences. We put up the blog posts, we put up the content that we want people to consume, right? We hang our little flowers out. A lot of times when I look at the blog content that's out there and websites, it's kind of like a virtual yard sale, don't you think, right? We put all of our stuff out there. We hope somebody will come along and smell the flowers and tell all their friends about it. But why do we put the fence up? And as we start to blame others for the lack of intimacy that we have in our relationships. Well, I like that person, I met that person at an event, but we've really never done anything together. They must not like me, or they must be too good for us, or they're too busy. I think busy is a big reason we put up fences, busyness. And so we blame them on why our relationships aren't where they should be. And we want them to be more intimate, but we want them to figure out how to pick that lock to let us in, to let them in. We say, you figure out how to open that lock, I'll let you into my world. Instead of us letting them in and saying, you know what, let me open that lock for you. Let me invite you in, and let me let you into my life and into my world so we can have a relationship, so we can quit running into each other every event. Like I just talked to Joe Paluzzi, for a year and a half we've been saying we're gonna work together. so we can quit doing those things and actually, Katarina's sitting here, we can actually do those things together and us be the one that opens those gates and quit putting up those virtual fences that keep people out of our life. Because the virtual fences we put up to keep us safe from what we call the bad people, and there are trolls out there, there are people that may have hurt you or are hurting you. And when we start to become afraid of them, our wall starts to change from a picket fence to a more wooded, dense fence. And then what happens, who can relate to putting up too many contact forms and too many things, too many barriers? My husband is my partner in business and life, and we have done this to where people are trying to get our content, our proposals and all that. And the last year, we started putting up all these walls, and we said, we need to stop. If they're gonna take our content, they're gonna take our IP. We can't let that stop us from the good things. Because if we're lucky, we will see this happening, and we know that we are missing out. And as our fence starts to get more tall, we start to have to look over it, at the fence that we have built for ourselves. And we look over it, and you see the people that are still working together, the people that have let their fences down, and the people that have opened up, and you know you're missing out. Because life is really about business, and it's really about, life is really about people. Business is about people, and it's about connecting as human beings to one another. And when we then are trying to go out by ourselves and put our content hanging on our fences, it starts to dry up because we don't have that richness in our life of other human beings who we're helping to fill up their lives as well. Because I truly believe that the more that we give to other people and let them into our world, the more that we are filled up ourselves. And so our planters start to look dry. They start to look like this. And we get stuck. And when if you take a look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you look at the physiological, we can't do a lot of things with that when we think about social. You look at safety, we can help people make more money to do that. But when you look at the sense of belonging, that's really where our relationships come in, and social media really comes in. And we can connect communities and connect people together and give them that sense of belonging, enable them to inspire one another to connect and to grow and to achieve success and to where they truly have self-actualization. But we will never get to the top of this pyramid in a personal and human way if we do not take down those fences. You'll never get there. And you'll get stuck in that safety, a little bit of that belonging level, and you'll never go any further than that. And I truly believe that we need to inspire our audiences, our people in our lives, to connect with us with the goal of helping them achieve their goals. And when we do that, we achieve ours by default, because we are all much more powerful together than we are as one. And so my challenge for you as I end today is, what would you do? What if you could open that gate? What would happen in your life in the next year if you have the guts to open up the gate? Don't just open up the lock, but what if you just open up the gate and you take down even just a section of that fence and you let some of the people into your life who have wanted to get in there for a long time? Because my guess is that most of you have a lot of people that will come running into your yard if you will just let them. That's all I have for you today.